Genesis chapter 4, verse 1 through 5. Adam laid with his wife. Adam laid with his wife. His wife was named Eve. And she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, with the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man. Later she gave birth to his brother Abel. Now Abel kept the flocks, and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil. Make sure you check that. Cain brought some of the fruits. Somebody say some of the fruits. Some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. But Abel brought fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. Fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering. But on Cain and his offering, he did not look with favor. I will be honest with you. When I grew up in church, and maybe some of you all had a more prolific orator or presbyter that was able to break the word down. But when I grew up, this is what I thought of the story. And holler back at me and let me know if you kind of saw it this way. It was two brothers, right? One was named Cain, one was named Abel. Not the group that used to be on No Limit back in the late 90s.
Okay.
But two brothers named Cain and Abel, right? Cain was a farmer and Abel was a rancher, right?
Okay.
Cain goes out to harvest his crops. Abel, on the other hand, goes and he plants. So now you have one that comes back with some corn, with some broccoli, with some spinach, and then you have another one that's standing right next to him, and he have some rack of lamb, some steak, and both of them are like, all right, it's time for offering. And it's like God was just like, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, I'm not a vegetarian, so I just want the meat.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it went in your head. Kind of, sort of. It's like God was mad at one person. God turned his back on one person, frowned on one person, but he gave props to the other person. And we kind of thought that God was a carnivore, like he just liked meat, like God didn't want any vegetables. And we kind of were pushed to think that it was the type of offering that was given. As to the reason why God did not like the offering. But now that I've grown older, I've been able to read the word for myself. That is not the case. This is not how the story happens. So what I want to do for a second is I want to slow down. I want us to talk a little bit about what was never addressed about this particular offering. First of all, we have to look at verse 3 as well as verse 4. So it seems as if they brought their offerings at two different times. It wasn't a joint offering, because it said one Cain, it said over the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits. Then it said, but Abel brought the fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. So now, because harvest time is totally different from the birth of a flock, it had to have been at two separate times. The only thing that we're actually told is that God considered both of their offerings. But when we grew up, or when I grew up, I was always thinking that he compared their offerings. The Bible did not say that he compared, but he considered. And I actually think that that's the reason why most modern churches have made a mockery of the offering period, is because we lead people to believe that God is comparing who gives the biggest offering and who doesn't.